This is the book of Psalms 55, verse 21 in the NLT. His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Call Halo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the hopefully elect men that scattered abroad, pushing the truth without sincerity. And also shalom to you very few sincere sisters. All right, let's take a heat, get in order in these last days. To all say shalom. I'm Brother Amawan coming to your video, Lord willing. It's edifying. And I want to go into the topic of this RFK Jr. to encourage Americans to use wearable tech to track their health, right? And the scripture that I brought out was very key, because one thing about it, you got to know who your enemy is and know how he move. Esau Edom is very cunning. He likes to move with the words, right? He know how to entice the people in with the words. Same thing he did with Gad, man. He's known to break treaties. It's like you. But the point I'm getting at is the wordplay, right? And we already know, right, through gradualism, this is how you get to the MOTB. This is how you get to that NWO. By setting the stage, right? You got to start somewhere, right? And his thing is, he can't pretty much alarm the people off the muscle, right? You got to gradually, lead them into it. In the day, people like sheep, and they the colliers. They trying to lead you into the gate. Excuse me, shepherds, you could say. Shepherds or the collier dogs, it don't matter. But that's their job. So they're gonna be real smooth with it, right? But let me go to that word soothing, and I'm gonna get daggers. Excuse me, right? Because it said wolves in his heart, which go back to the Hebrew word la'ab, which means your mind, right? So it says having a gently calming effect, right? So that's related to gradualism, because it's working, but it's going at a speed that you damn near couldn't tell, right? Because you're adapting with it because it's so light. Like that's just like with the tap to pay, clocking in at work, right? Went from using the little hole punch thing, writing your name down, or to now clocking in, got your own key fob, to brothers, right? I know the bro Karafi, right? He was speaking at his job about how they have it set up for the RFID, right? C-hip. It's all about gradualism. You may not think it's not going on, but it is. It's a slowly calming, a gently calming effect, soothing, right? And we know another thing with this C-hip, right, before it be made mandatory, they're trying to pretty much bring you in with the so-called benefit side, right? Like, so in this article, it says RFK Jr. to encourage Americans to use wearable tech, right, to track their health, right? And come on, these folks don't care about us, man. They trying to, the article going into more so like, they trying to, it's like Maha, make America healthy again, which they don't care for it, right? But they have to, finesse their way in with that C-hip some type of way and grow on that, That's a part of his war, right? His tactic. Let me grab another scripture right quick. Excuse me. 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11 in the NLT version again. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes, right? Hey, what's the most recent one? 2020. People, 2020, and he put, a lot of people, jobs was on the line, and they didn't take this heel. But even before that, they was giving out so much so-called benefits, rewards, if you was to take this jab, you know. Now later on down the line, folks passing out during basketball games, soccer games, regular people dying on their jobs, you know. Hey, you gotta understand, hey, his devices, man, right? Excuse me, and I'm gonna get that word for device. In the NLT, it says, so that Satan will not outsmart us if we are familiar with his evil schemes, right? So at the end of the day, this is a scheme. That's what his devices is when they go to the KJV, right? It just means his schemes, man. So all of a sudden, now you're worrying about our health, all these years, they've been passing by. All of a sudden, y'all worry about our health. No, the thing that they want to be able to track you wherever you're at, right? That's all it is. And I just want to get into the Revelation 13 and 16, going into the third word when you break down Mark, right? You got charagma, charax, and grapho, right? So, matter of fact, and let me get one more scripture, and I'm going to read some of this. This is Ecclesiasticus, right? It's like at the yarn, right? And it's 12 verse 10. Just want to put these things out there, right? It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? So after a while, it's gonna show. You're gonna know this nigga is the fucking devil. See, right now he's playing that smooth, innocent game. Keep the ball face looking innocent, so-called innocent, But soon come, right, you're going to find out this man's a fucking devil, right? A lot of folks shook up, right? A lot of folks realized it in 2020, But, hey, you had 2020, Tuskegee experiment, right? You had the time with the GAD, This nigga track record is long, man. He been doing this, right? He get up under you, and then he strike, right? Matter of fact, hey, let's read verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. So that main part I wanted to grab was, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, right? 'Cause, hey, though he go, crouching down, giving you these smooth words, man, pay attention to that nigga, man, right? Because right now he just trying to read you. He trying to see the pushback that you give, so he know how to come at a more deceivable way, right? He gonna strike different, right? So just always be aware, because we know at any given moment, right, he's gonna come. Scripture says he's gonna come down with great wrath. Right? And for the record, the 2030 situation, they want to have things functioning by 2030. Not 2030 going to start the process. By 2030, it's going to be functioning, right? So, and we know they're going to take time, a year or so, to get everything evolved. So that's what they're trying to pretty much move it in there real smoothly, gradually, right? RFK to encourage Americans to use wearable tech to track their health. Slack you. It says U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right, said on Tuesday that it is his vision that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years. It's already 2025, damn near 2026. Like I said, the spirit egg. I remember the elder Amon Gabar was talking about it, man, saying that same thing, right? It's already 2025, and we know about the 2030 agenda, right? But we halfway in, so somebody would say this 2026, so hey, they trying to get ready for that 2030 agenda, It says that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years, right? that lines up, man. You know, hey, man, if you don't understand what the MOTB is and what it consists of and how it relates to what these people got going on, you just lost. Right, and I'm really saying it to like the camps like IUIC, right, and to whoever don't believe it as well. You know, it says he made the comments regarding devices like smartwatches, smart rings, fitness trackers to members of Congress, adding the Department of Health and Human Services is about to launch one of the biggest advertising campaigns in HAS history to encourage Americans to use wearables, right? Man, this is going to be heavy. This other half of this year going to be heavy, you know. We already know it. But yeah, man, but that's their thing. That's the scriptures talk about how he wants to, Esau wants to be like the Most High, you know. So how can he do that, you know, on a carnal level? You have to put devices inside you, you know, track you. The same way how you would track your animal, your dog, your cat. You know, Esau wants to do the same thing, right? And that's why we go into Revelation 13 and 16 and verse 18 as well, right? Going to the beast, right? The 666, chastise stigma, right? And that also just goes and shows you piercing, right? Being branded, you know, being tracked, right? Letting the Lord know who's your master, which will be Esau Edom, by taking his device, you know. So like, yeah. It says they can see, as you know, what food is doing to their glucose levels, their heart rates, and a number of other metrics as they eat it, he told members of Congress. And they can begin to make good judgments about their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. And that's the thing about it. Esau wants to think for you, right? Because once that device is inside you, you don't own your body no more. You know, they can turn that body off. They can make you be sick. They can, man, bro, you letting you'll be a fool to let a evil man take over your body. You know, it's just Apple Watch SE is seen in store in Krakow, Poland on April 2024. Well, you know, it's just something similar to what they're gonna be trying to use later on. Right, this right here. This is pre-MOTB, man. This is pre-MOTB, you know. But the thing is, they trying to be so-called focused on your health, and now they worrying about your health, you know. And that's a good way to come at, you know, these people, because they sheep that don't know no better. Right? They think this man is for them, right? But newsflash. Hey, this man will destroy his own self. That's how toxic he is, you know. But I want to go to this right here in the book of Revelation 13. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all going into, right? Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, 3rd verse. For the visions yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it. Right? Because it will surely come and will not tarry. Right? And we're seeing it getting closer and closer. Right? Because he said he want all Americans. And it's not just going to be America. Excuse me. Well, for this, I'm gonna say that for this article, yes, this man is talking about America, but when it comes to that MOTB, that's going to be an NWO, you know, a new to the world, to the order, you know. So these other nations, these other countries, they're on the same thing, you know. So it just makes sense when he goes into Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he calls of all, right? He said, in the NLT, it says he required everyone, right? Right, his necessitar, right? Officially compulsory or otherwise considered essential, right? Indispensable. It ain't hitting that hard, but Hey, in the KJV, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a MARK in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right? See, right now they're encouraging it. Right now they're encouraging you to do so. Next, they're going to be putting you in positions to where that squeezes on you to the point where you're going to accept it. Cut off the food. Cut off your job. Pretty much cut you off from society because you don't have the new requirements. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right? It says, here's wisdom, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603.6. And I guess I can go into that first, and then I'm going to go back to 13 and 16. Yeah. Chi, psi, stigma. Yeah. Right, and let's go to that G4742. All right, you got stigma. It says a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. It's the key point right here. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, right, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with a token of their power, right? So, and that's heavy, right? To prick, right? That means you got to cut into the flesh so it can leave a mark, This is the indication. Like I always say, you go to a farm or go to a farm, you will always see, I ain't gonna say a farm, I'm gonna say a person that got some land and he got cows in his, cattle on his land, right? The ears are always gonna be clipped, pierced with, a tag. So you know which one is which, Same thing Esau wants. He wants you to be tagged. That's heavy. In a strong definition, it says a mark, incite, or punch, right, for recognition of ownership, right? And that's all Esau wants to do, right? He got us right now in captivity, and he owns us, right? But he want to fully own. He want the soul. That's what Esau want. And once you take that C-hip, you're not bound to the Lord no more, man. Right? You fully submitted to Him. Esau, it's a scar of service. See, can't get around it. Excuse me. I want to go back to Revelation 13:16, so I want to get that word from Mark, because like I said, it wants to help your health, right? So that means they have to collect data, and then going to progress from there, That's how we know that this MOTB is going to be that small, tiny device, that grain of rice, right? That's like I did a live, a couple of weeks back, some months back, and which store was I at? I think it was at a Firehouse. It was at a Firehouse Subs, and the lady had the C-hip, and it was an elder lady. She was probably in her 70s. She had the C-hip in both her hands, and she was paying for shit, and I was just like, what the fuck? But the thing is, that C-hip, it remembers her card, All of that stuff's on her device. Right, all her information's on that device. Right, that device keeps up with all her stuff, her records. It says, so the root, the Greek word for Mark in Revelation 13:16 is charakma, right? And it says, It's like, right, go to 8. It says, of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge, right, of the followers of the Antichrist, right? I'll really be up on the Esau Edom, but let's look up badge, right? A distinctive emblem worn as a mark of office, membership, achievement, license, employment, right? That's all it is. Your membership, right? In order to move around, you gotta have this membership, right? Esau finna bring it, and he finna cause hell, right? Because he knows a lot of people on this soil that's not supposed to be here, which want to help him further his agenda by pushing out this MOTB, so we can know who's in the country at all times, right? Yeah. Right, so let's go down to it again. We always like to bring this out, right? Go to the Strong's definition. It says as a badge of servitude, right? By having this charagma, right? The scratch, it says a scratch or etching, right? Because we know that you have to pierce through the skin, right? Whether it's the in between the your pointing finger and your thumb, or on your forehead, right? We know that you will have to pierce the skin. It says as a badge of servitude, right? Nothing wrong bringing this back out. The state of being or slave, the state of being a slave or completely subject to someone more powerful, right? This C-hip is pretty much letting the Lord know that, hey, Esau is more powerful than you. Look what I'm able to do just by having this device, right? But it's the punishment that come with that, in the book of Revelation 14, verse 9. All right, so the root word for charagma is charax, right? It says in the Strong's definition, it says to sharpen to a point, right? So we know that Esau Edom will be using a sharp instrument to pierce through your skin to implant the device. And charax, you got the root word for charax is grapho, right? So just going down to the point, says to make America healthy again, right? So they'll be able to, get the analysis of, your body, glucose levels, all of those levels, right, for your body, and they'll be able to go from there. But the thing about it is you got to consent to all of those things, right? You got to pretty much bow down, Graph, I want to go to the main point was 2B. It says to commit to writing things not to be forgotten, write down, record. And that's it. That's just the main thing right there, right? D, it says to write to one by writing in a written epistle to give information, direction, right? So the main thing is getting information and writing it down so it don't be forgotten, right? And they're gonna write it down on that device, So that's just that on that, So like I said, he's coming in smooth, right? With something like this, it sounds like it's cool, but no, it's really a move, a chess move, a tactic. I'll close out with this last scripture in the book of Habakkuk 2 in verse 3. Right? And if you can, just look up that word gradualism. I mean, I'm already say, it's at a pretty much a slow increase to reach its goal, But I always understand that word gradualism. It's Habakkuk 2 verse 3, and it's in the NLT. This vision is for a future time, right? Especially regarding the MOTB. It describes the end, right? Because we know what comes after that, right? We know once the MOTB is made mandatory, the Lord not gonna have us out here too long running around, trying to outdo the MOTB. We know that shortly after that, WW3 is gonna literally pop off like with the ICBMs, right? It says it describes the end, and it will be fulfilled, right? The Lord's not slack concerning His promises, right? If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. And we at that time where this scripture right here is really speaking heavy, right? Though it's taking a time, right? Because we know we're at 2025. That's that turn point to 2030. And they know that by 2030, they have to have this up and running. This society will be up and running by 2030 of the MOTB. So though it seems like it's taking a long time for that C-hip to drop, hey, just wait. We just one black swan of any way from this being on the table. So I'm going to close out with this. Lord willing, the lesson was edifying. I'm going to give our honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Bashem, Rakakadash. And to the next one, Shalom.